Super Stone's Chlorstain system for staining concrete is your pathway to opportunity. Expanses of plain gray concrete can be transformed into beautiful and appealing spaces. It's the ideal system for redesigning the aesthetic appeal of existing concrete surfaces. Super Stone's Chlorstain system can also be used in new construction to create dynamic and distinctive hardscapes. Chlorstain adds age and character to your interior and exterior designs. It's the alternative to spending thousands of dollars on tile, stone, or wood, when you can spend a minimum on the most basic surface of all, concrete. With this system, you just stain it and seal it. That's it. That simple. Super Stone's Chlorstain can be used on a wide variety of flooring and pavement, including walkways, plazas, lobbies, pool decks, driveways, street sections and patios, and other commercial and residential applications. Now, let's take a look at how to create some of the designs you're looking at. It's really pretty easy, but there are some tips and techniques you need to know to create surfaces as beautiful as these. We're going to be looking in on a Super Stone seminar in Miami, Florida, on a warm Saturday afternoon, where contractors and concrete professionals have come from around the world to learn the tips and techniques of Chlorstain. Here are the 4 steps to a finished floor. 1. Cleaning and preparation. 2. Stain and add any treatment. 3. Wash it off. And 4. Apply sealer. And you're on your way to a fantastic looking hard surface. Let's begin. Let's start with a newly poured surface, already prepared and ready to stain. We poured a concrete slab in our production work yard, using a variety of different patterns and textures. New concrete should be allowed a minimum of 14 days to cure, preferably 21 to 30 days, depending on weather conditions. A test section should be produced prior to the general application of the chemical stain. This test should be done on the job site on the specific surface to be stained. The effect of the colors produced by Super Stone Chlorstain are unique to each concrete surface and will vary in shade as do colors of stone, sand, and other natural material. They differ quite a bit from the colors on the color chart. The test area should be of adequate size for good visual inspection. The same worker, equipment, and technique should be used on the areas and the finished job site. Your surface must be clean and dry before applying Chlorstain. The concrete surface must be cleaned to remove all dirt, grease, oils, and plaster stains. Previous coatings, water repellents, and adhesives should be removed with a scraper or commercial paint stripper. We'll show you the proper way to prepare your surface using a paint stripper solution a little later on in this video. Acid wash should never be used prior to applying Chlorstain. Acid wash removes the concrete's ability to produce a chemical reaction when Chlorstain is applied and will not allow your stain to be as beautiful as it could be. Chlorstain comes pre-mixed in 1 gallon and 5 gallon containers in 10 beautiful colors: azure pool blue, aged bronze, aged buff, light terracotta, aged copper green, gold amber, light palmetto green, mission brown, light walnut brown, black. They're already mixed, so all you have to do is pour it into the plastic sprayer bottle and begin. The only mixing you'd have to do is, if you'd like to lighten a particular color, we make an extender that easily mixes and dilutes to accomplish the desired shade. First off, note that you should use only plastic spray bottles or sprayers with no metal parts. Metal parts will only last about 10 seconds. It's a liquid acidic to stain concrete. You should wear protective clothing, especially gloves, to keep your hands from being stained. It's also important to note that all of the ingredients in Super Stone's Chlorstain are not toxic to you or the environment. Chlorstain should be applied by brush and scrubbed into the concrete surface. On large areas, the Chlorstain can be hand-pumped sprayed using a fan tip to apply the stain to the surface while scrubbing with a brush. You can also use a stiff broom for applying to large areas. Your brushes should be uncolored, acid-resistant nylon bristles with a medium stiffness and able to hold liquids. Brushes with colored bristles can discolor the surface. Super Stone Chlorstain should be applied full strength. The only exception is when using the liquid extender when the desired effect is a lighter color than the pre-mixed color. A minimum of 2 separate applications are normally required. Only 1 coat may be required if you've used Super Stone Concrete Hardener. The coverage should be 75 to 100 square feet per gallon for 2 applications. The square footage equates to 150 to 200 square feet per gallon per coat. Apply a uniform film thickness. The liquid Chlorstain color will not resemble the final color produced on the concrete surface. The color changes as the chemical reactions take place. Super Stone Chlorstain has a slight bubbling or fizzing action when applied to the concrete. If this doesn't happen, the surface was not properly prepared. When you spray the stain onto the surface of the concrete, it should be brushed or scrubbed immediately. Don't let the solution lay there long before scrubbing, as the staining process begins immediately as the Chlorstain reaches the concrete. Scrub or brush in circular motions. Usually about 3 swirls or figure 8s is enough to spread it properly. Once covered and swirled about 3 times, stop working on that area and move on to the next section. This will give you the most desirable and natural looking effect. Remember, puddle the stain in a small spot, swirl it in and leave it alone to dry. Move on to the next spot. Don't paint it on like you're painting a barn. Swirl it and leave it alone. Treat each square as a separate area. Therefore, it gives each square or area its own personality. It's not exactly like the one next to it, even though it's the same color and texture. Work small areas and work in sections, keeping the brush in constant contact with the surface in a continuous motion. The Chlorstain should be spread out until the fizzing action ceases. Give each puddle about 3 swirls and then move on. You've got a lot of floor to cover. When 2 workers are staining, one should spray and the other should spread and swirl immediately following the spray. You can cover a lot of territory quickly using this procedure. As you proceed, new stain should overlap the previous stained area. A wet edge should be maintained. Never splash, drip, or allow the Chlorstain to puddle in the joint areas or other depressions. Carefully cover the areas you don't want stained with cardboard or a divider. Spray the stain near the joint and swirl it up to the joint, being careful not to get the stain into the joint or on other sections. Don't step on the wet surface. Footprints will appear darker. If stepped on by accident, the footprint should be brushed out immediately. To add additional character and the appearance of imperfections of the surface, today we're using iron sulfate and spreading it just a little into the wet surface. This adds a bit of a natural-looking speckle to the design. Make sure that the surface is very wet when adding textures. Another nice design is to add a little Miracle Grow to add some aqua green stains. One of the most unusual but attractive textures can be achieved by adding an absorbent breakfast cereal to the surface. In this case, we're using Special K, but others like corn flakes or similar cereals work equally as well. Again, we do this to add irregularities to the surface, to create aging marks and overall character. To add additional variations, the second or third color can be added. When different colors of Chlorstain are to be applied on top of each other, the first color residue should be washed off before the application of a second or third color. This allows the color effect of the last color applied to be evaluated before another color is applied. Don't worry about cracks and minor stains in the concrete. These help create the perception of aging. Imperfections in aged concrete add character to resemble the striations and irregularities that you find in natural stone surfaces. The Chlorstain reaction times dependent on wind, temperature, and humidity. The Chlorstain, wet or dry, should remain on the surface for a minimum of 4 hours. Prevent contact with the surface until the stain residue has been removed and the surface rinsed. All residue must be removed by wet scrubbing with water and a stiff broom. The surface must be rinsed clean. Be sure the runoff doesn't stain adjacent areas or harm plants. After washing, the surface should then be allowed to dry at least 24 hours or until completely dry. This is totally dependent upon weather conditions. Then you can apply the clear sealer. Apply 1 coat of Super Stone solvent-based clear acrylic sealer or Super Hydro clear acrylic water-based sealer. Apply a very light coat. Use an airless sprayer, brush, or roller. Apply the clear sealer at the rate of 200 to 250 square feet per gallon. Allow an overnight dry and apply a second coat. You're finished, and you should have a beautiful surface that people will enjoy for years and years. It's a good idea to apply a fresh coat of sealer at least once a year to maintain the beautiful finish and to help protect the surface from stains and scuffs. Let's address cleaning and preparation of the concrete surface. As we mentioned earlier, the concrete surface must be cleaned to remove all dirt, grease, oils, and plaster stains. Previous coatings, water repellents, and adhesives should be removed with a scraper or commercial paint stripper. And remember, never acid wash the area you're going to stain. We're using a standard electric floor buffer with a stripping pad. Pour on the stripper and start buffing, working the areas severely stained the most. Be careful, the floor is now extremely slick. When finished buffing, add water and continue to buff. Then wash the area thoroughly and broom scrub clean. Let it dry, and you have an area that's ready to be stained. We've walked you through the steps to a beautiful Super Stone Chlorstain finished floor or surface. Experimentation, skill, and practice are needed to access the multitude of patterns and colors possible. It takes a few hours to do a normally sized room, but the applications are truly unlimited. Anybody can do it once you've learned the tips and techniques. Super Stone's Chlorstain adds age and character to your interior and exterior designs that will last longer than a lifetime.